Hello YouTube. So today we're taking a look at attack buff, and we're actually kind of wondering how is the interaction between certain heroes in the game and the attack buff. Is there any diminishing returns on attack buff? I think we should try and test it out today and see what we find. We're going to test it with Willa, MagicRaid and my Wrister, and also we'll be using a Lydia as well for some of the testing. Now Willa, if you don't know, is a pretty exclusive hero who has some unique abilities here. She has a passive, Wind of Potential. What it does, it says here that it grants all allies Storm Blessing for 3 turns, increasing their attack and defense by 40% of Willa's initial attack. This means that this won't work on every hero, not just poison hero. So you will be able to buff everyone with 40% of Willa's initial attack and put it into and apply it into attack and defense on your allies. Now you can see here that my Willa has 60k attack. It's a very nice round number, so it's very easy to test with. And if you go and look at my MagicRaid here, he has around 50k attack, so that is also pretty easy and a number to figure out, right? So 60k for Willa, 50k for MagicRaid. Now Wrister, on the other hand, Wrister is also a bit like Willa. He has a passive here where the one that he puts the alliance buff on will get 30% of Wrister's initial attack, and my Wrister has almost 50k attack. So that means that he will be able to give someone 15k attack, and he will apply it by default on the one with the most attack, which in my case, in our test here, will be Willa. She has 60k attack. Now what I want to test today is also auras. So we have this aura here, Advanced Hit Aura. At max level on 5 stars, it's giving 27% of attack. Now we've learned in the past that when it says attack plus 27%, it means like of your overall attack pool. This is not the same as this one up here where it says attack rate 7.4%. Now attack rate, whenever it says rate here in the sub here, it means from your basic stat here. So if you look at here, this is the basic attributes attack. You can see here it says 13,381. That is your base. That is your base stat. That is what every piece of gear that has this stat here, attack rate, and then some percentage, is based on. That's this number here. So if you have a 10% attack rate from a blessing or maybe a piece of gear, then it means it will give you 1338 attack. So that is very important to realize. Now for the attack buff, it says here it is 40% attack, which means it should be 40% of the total attack. So let's go and test it out, guys. Let's see if there are any diminishing returns on attack and how it interacts with each other. Let's take the Willa as an example, 60k and MagicRaid 50k. Let's just remember those two numbers and we will go in here and test it somewhere. I'm gonna go into the Wuthering Coast and I will only be using my these 3 guys here. Actually, let's just use this one down here to test it out with first, with Lydia. We're going to be testing it with the aura first, and that should be fine. So let's go and have a look. Let's see what happens here. So this is at the beginning of the wave. Now Willa has automatically with her exclusive 2 applied the Storm Blessing. So everyone got 40% of her initial attack, which should be 40% of 60k, which means 24,000 damage. Now attack, sorry. What is interesting here is to see if the aura is also like concluded added into this number. With the aura, a 5-star aura here on Willa, and the Storm Blessing buff that she is actually applying to herself as well, which means that she actually gets 40% extra attack like just from any gear, which is insane. She's kind of double dipping on that, so that is pretty good. She has now 100k attack from the beginning. This is without the 40% attack buff from Lydia. This is just at the beginning of the battle. She has 100,000 attack, and she started with 60, so that means she's gotten 40k attack. Now if we take the 40% of 60k, which we just said was 24k attack, that would mean she would be on 84k attack with just her own buff, which means that the aura here, which is 27% attack, has given her 16,000 attack additionally. And that is pretty much the same, because 27% of 60k is around 16k attack. So that's perfect. That is exactly what we were expecting. Now Imakaru, on the other hand, he started with 50k attack, and you can see here that he has 24k attack. Now that means that the buff that Willa is doing at the beginning of the wave, this Storm Blessing here, is not applying the attack that she has gotten from the aura. So the aura on Willa is not doing anything for her allies, it's only for her personal gain, it's only to give her more attack. The aura is applied after the Storm Blessing, which means that her initial attack that her Storm Blessing is based on is from the standard stats she had before the fight, and not what she's been giving from the aura, because otherwise Imakaru would have been at around the 90k attack, I think, instead of this 74, because she's gained 24% attack, 24k attack on top of his 50k, and that is exactly the 40% of 60k attack that Willa gave from the beginning. So that is kind of interesting to know that the aura, the advanced hit aura for Willa, is actually not applying the aura before the buff, which is kind of what I wanted to do. So that means I might actually change her aura and give this aura to my Morikis instead, because my Morikis is using a versatility aura, and I can then place that versatility aura on my Lance. And of course it sounds like it's a big puzzle, but it's probably going to be worth it in the end, because I do not really care that much about effect hit on my Willa, and to be frankly, I don't really care about her own personal damage. I just wanted to buff the rest of the team, because obviously she is the best poison damage dealer, but I'm not really needing her damage at the moment. For Wuthering Coast, for example, I'm already way past the 16 billion damage, and I'm kind of stuck everywhere else until my Freud gets some exclusives anyways. So, and in PvP it's Imakaru actually doing the damage on the poison team, so I just wanted to buff him, and if he cannot get any extra attack from her having this one, then I just might move it around. Now let's see what happens if we give the 40% attack buff from Lydia. We have 100k attack here, so we are expecting, well, this is what I was expecting anyways, would be 140k, because 40% on top of 100k should be 140k, right? However, that is not how it works. How it works is this: it actually still takes into consideration your stats that you had before the fight began. So it's based off her 60k attack that she had before the fight started. That is what the 40% attack buff is also based on. And that is why she's getting those 24k attack. And it's the same for Imakaru. You can see here he's also gotten actually a bit less, I think, than 24k, but that is because he had, yeah, that's exactly because he had 50k before the fight, so that is 20k for him. Added on to this one, it is exactly what was expected from this one. However, I must admit, I've been playing for 2 years, and I was naively thinking that the 40% buff was being applied on top of your in-game stats. So yeah, so that just means that if you have, for example, Willa or some other hero like that, the 40% attack buff actually becomes less and less valuable it means less and less in your team composition, and that might be something that you need to like think about in your PvP teams. For example, you might be able to get another support in, or a healer, or some CC or something. Maybe you don't actually need the Willa, the Lydia, for example, in your team, or the attack buffer, because you're not really gaining that much from it. Like, I'm only getting 24k attack, and my base was like 100k here, so that is only 24% instead of 40% that I actually gained in raw attack here. Obviously it's still 40% of my base stats, or the standard stats that I had before the fight, but from my total stats it's only 24%, right? Because from 100 to 124. So that is something to consider, guys. Now let's just do a quick few more quick tests here, just to see how it works with Wrister. So we know that Wrister has 50k attack, and he gives 30% of his attack to the one with the highest attack, which is my Willa. So he should be applying 30% of 50k, that is 15k attack on top of my Willa here. So let's see how much attack she has now. See, this is interesting. Now she has almost 115k attack, which is exactly what we were expecting, I guess, because she had 100k before with the Lydia, and now we have a Wrister in the mix, and now she has that 15k attack on top of it. So at the start of the battle, she'll get her own buff, she'll get his buff, and she'll get the aura buff. Now, how is it looking for everyone else here? So Imakato has gotten 4k more attack than he had before, and which could mean that that the Wrister buff is being applied before the Storm Blessing, and then this Imakato is getting that extra 4k from the 15k that Willa is getting from Wrister, right? Otherwise, I don't know why Imakato all of a sudden is getting extra attack here. And the Wrister, obviously, he is getting the 24k attack on top of his. But as you can see here, his is also applying from his like base stats that he had before the fight, so 30% of 50 instead of 30% of 73k. So that is exactly how we're expecting it to work. Now let's see, 115k attack here. Let's see if we give her an attack buff, how much does she get to? 138, so that is 15, it's around less than 20, I think. Yeah, it's 23 now, right? No, 8 plus 15, yeah, 23k attack she just gotten there, and that is less than 40% of what she had. So again, it is some diminishing returns on the attack part. The more and more you have, the less and less value you get out of it. Obviously 140k almost is a huge number, and it's pretty good to get. Now let's just see here, if we remove the, just to clarify and like put a big fat line under that the aura is not working, we will just go back to the one with the Lydia one, and then I'm going to remove the aura. I'll just show you here. Obviously it's only level 2. This here, you can see here that I actually lose 1k attack from changing the aura. That's just from the passive stats, right? And so obviously the attack is going to be a bit less, but we'll just still be able to see it, right? So now you can see here that for her, obviously the aura is no longer a thing, so that is why she has less. But what about Imakato? Imakato is around the same as he was before, so that is exactly what we were expecting. So there you have it, guys. The aura on Willa is not applying before her Storm Blessing buff, which means that you probably don't have to put it on her if you are just looking into wanting to buff in your allies with the attack buff, and not really attack and defense, and not really just getting her damage up. So that is how it works, guys. I hope you learned something from this video. Let me know in the comments section down below if you would like more testing video, maybe other buffs like speed or whatever we can find, And don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Cheers, bye.